Hello, this is Ariella Carmel, and I'm at Unistream's annual competition for youth entrepreneurship. I'm joined by Jonathan Penkin, the CEO of Goldman Sachs Israel. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So can you tell me a little bit about the competition today and what you've seen?
Sure. So look, I've spent about an hour walking around, seeing the most amazing inventions by young kids, effectively. There are different groups, and there's some which are prototypes and some which have been developed. But there literally are things here which I think could be invested in. I think that could be developed further. And there are others that are just at the idea stage. The really important thing is the amount of thought and consideration that has been given by these kids to each of these projects. And I say that not just in terms of what they thought about, but also how they've presented it. So they've made an effort to create marketing materials, which is very important, but also they've practiced how they will describe it to kind of people like me who come around and ask them to talk about it. Look, at the end of the day, whether they are successful or they're not successful, the reality is you've got a bunch of kids here who are spending their time trying to come up with ideas, not doing bad things. This is furthering their education. This is keeping them stimulated. And the reality is that their thoughts about how do they best improve themselves and their economic position going forward. And that's really, really impressive. I haven't seen this anywhere else in the world. It might exist, but I haven't seen it.
No, it's really an incredible competition. Now, you're a judge today. Has there been any projects in particular that have caught your eye?
Yeah, there were two projects which caught my eye. The one was a kind of an application or an app for people who take lots of medicine every day. Luckily, I'm not in that category, or at least not yet. And I understand that people who take medicine every day have these boxes and it shows morning, afternoon, and night. So what they've created is an app in which you put in your name, you scan your prescription, it tells you when you're supposed to take your medicine, when you're supposed to have food or not food, and it will give you an alarm during the day when you're supposed to take it, or tell you when you haven't taken it. And I just think that the technology is just great. Now, I think they probably need to put it on your phone rather than on an iPad or on a tablet, because it's small so people can carry it around. It's good. The second is a bunch of kids from up north who've created this system for if you go into a swimming pool and you have kids, you put a band on their wrist, and the band monitors their blood pressure, their oxygen, etc. And if something happens to them and they're drowning, a net comes up immediately and saves them. Now again, I don't know if this is something which is economically viable, but I have to tell you, it's pretty clever. Because the truth of the matter, and sadly, lots of kids and adults as well, also kind of drown today. And we're in the summer, and I just thought it was really, I thought it was really, really, really clever. There were a few other prototypes, which I thought there was one for what's recording diabetes, so sugar scores. It's still at the prototype stage, but it seems pretty interesting. There were others. There was one where they've created cigarette filters made out of seaweed because they say that cigarette filters don't disintegrate after 15 years, and this way they kind of disappear after months. So just really some really great ideas.
Very much so. Now, one of the main goals of this competition is really to encourage and promote youth entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
What do you think needs to be done to encourage and foster more education and access for youth in the field of entrepreneurship here in Israel?
So the reality is, and the sad reality, and it's not just in Israel, but it's around the world, is that there needs to be much greater investment in education. And there isn't, and I think in this country there are reasons why investment go to other places, but we really need to think about that because that's effectively the future. Entrepreneurship is clearly something which has a ring to it. It's something which is very popular in Israel. This country has done incredibly well. Small country, 9 million people, with creating world-beating companies. And if kids can see that, and kids can say, maybe that's my future, maybe I can do that, maybe that's something that I can achieve, then I think it's something that will excite them and will get them to spend time rather than wasting time or doing things which aren't as productive. So I think we're lucky in this country is that the people that kids look up to are entrepreneurs, and I think we need to latch onto that and we need to give them the opportunities. Now, I didn't know about Unistream until about 4 months ago. And I sat down with Ifat and she told me about it. And frankly, I was kind of blown away. I think the mentoring, what they do with kids is incredible. And so I think the more we can do this. Look, the reality is that while tech in Israel at the moment is having a hard time, it's having a hard time for domestic reasons, having a hard time for international reasons. But when it wasn't having a hard time and was doing so well, and so much wealth was being created, really what was happening was we were creating a real problem in the society. The haves and the have-nots, the periphery and the center, those who speak English and those who don't speak English, those who have great maths education, those who don't. And while I was delighted to be part of that kind of tech growth in 2021 and before that, I have to say I was quite concerned about what this would lead to in terms of the structure of society. Now, I'm not happy at all about where we are today in terms of investment, et cetera, but this does give us an opportunity to catch up and to invest more in the periphery amongst the Arab population. I met some incredible Arab kids today, both Palestinian Arabs, some who are living in Israel and some who are living in Jerusalem. And it just bridges the divide straight away. There wasn't an issue. There was just, we're talking about the technology, we're talking about entrepreneurship, and looking at me as a judge. And it was great to talk to them. And so, look, I think entrepreneurship is something which is common in this country. It's something people to look up to, and therefore it's something we should push to solve many of the social problems and even some of the political problems.
Well, on that note, we're going to have to close the conversation, but thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us, and good luck selecting a product. It sounds like you're spoiled for options.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
Thanks.